day one of the Roblox Developer Conference has just finished, and there's a lot for us to talk about. Although the conference is aimed at developers, of course, it is interesting for players to hear about all the announcements too. A lot of these are either features that are across the whole platform, or are things that developers will start to implement in their own experiences that players will obviously see and be affected by. So here are my top 5 player-facing announcements from RDC 2025. So first off, in number 5 is about safety ratings and age estimation. So David Baszucki was first on stage, and the first topic was safety. I assume to get the elephant in the room out of the way and save the more exciting, fun stuff for later on. We did get a post about some of this a few days before RDC, but Roblox plans to expand the AI-driven age estimation to all Roblox users who want to use any communication features on the platform. So if that's chatting by text, voice, community forums, comments, any of those sorts of things, you'll need to have gone through age estimation. So that's going to use a combination of facial age estimation, which uses AI, ID verification, and parental consent where applicable. The facial age estimation will analyze a selfie and put you into one of 3 categories. So you're either under 13, 13 plus, or 18 plus. And if you get estimated as under 13, your email and phone number will get removed from Roblox. I think the only way to correct it if it's wrong will be to use ID estimation, or ID verification, sorry, which might be tricky for teenagers as a lot of them don't have passports or ID cards to use. So if you just turned 13 and Roblox thinks you look under 13, you might be a bit stuck. We'll have to see what Roblox want to do about that. Also, every experience on Roblox will now be rated using IARC ratings, which translates into 9 different specific ratings for different countries, so that they get the most appropriate ratings for them. So most of Europe will see PEGI ratings, which is what we normally have on our games. North America will get the ESRB ratings that we've seen before, and there's various others around the world, Australia, Korea, Germany, they all have their own rating systems. If an experience isn't rated because a developer didn't fill out the questionnaire, it gets hidden from users, which is a change because before it was, I think, restricted to 17 plus if it was unrated. Now it's just private and gone. All of this is definitely in response to the conversations around safety from the past few months, but maybe to some people's surprise, later in the keynote, David Baszucki did confirm that dating is still on the cards, though he reiterated the bump from 17 plus to 18 plus for the most mature experiences, plus age estimation and ID verification should mean that the right users only see content appropriate for them. So number 4 on my list is the IP licensing platform. Now this platform's been out for possibly a few months now, where developers can apply to use licenses. So there's been some on there from Lionsgate, like the Divergent series or the Twilight Saga. Developers have been able to apply for that and create an experience that is using that IP. If you've been on the platform for a while, you might know some experiences that didn't have permission. There's been quite a few Pokemon games over the years. There's been a lot of Squid Game knockoffs or similar games. Roblox obviously want developers to get permission for IP to make sure it doesn't get removed from the platform. And this IP licensing platform is a way to do that. But what was new today at RDC was a partnership with Kodansha, which is a large manga publishing company from Japan. And their CEO came on stage and was talking about it. But basically, 2 new IP items have been added to the IP licensing platform from Kodansha, which is That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime and Blue Lock, with more to come soon in the future. But yeah, Roblox is hoping for thousands of experiences to make use of the IP licensing platform over the next few years. So I think more and more IPs are going to be added. They did also confirm a few more. So we've got, from Mattel, we've got Street Sharks, Polly Pocket, and Matchbox coming soon. And from Lionsgate, we've got Strangers, The Blair Witch Project, and Fall coming soon. So that should make for some nice horror games, plus all the ones that are already on there. So we've got Like a Dragon, Now You See Me, Squid Game, Stranger Things, Divergent, Saw, and Twilight. So quite a few on there now, and a few more coming soon. Okay, number 3, server authority. So this is Roblox's answer to client-side cheats to make things fairer, and also to improve some sort of physics and things like racing and sports. The examples that they showed were quite interesting. There was the example of suppressing things like fly hacks for the anti-cheat side of things, but for physics, they showed a demo with a racing game where collisions were previously not great. These cars would bump into each other, but it wouldn't have the kind of behavior that you'd expect in real life. So they showed that with server authority, you can do things like a pit maneuver, and it does actually pit maneuver the other person, which is not what happens today. Another example was a hamster soccer game, which previously would have been quite a tricky problem. I know a lot of developers of competitive games have to work very hard to implement custom code, and it's not always perfect. With this feature, this soccer game looked really great and acted as you'd expect without too much effort. I'm curious to see how all of this looks on slow internet connections where latency is high. That's previously been the challenge with putting the server in control of things because you don't get, an immediate visual response, which can be a bit weird for the player. It sounds like they've solved that here, but we didn't get to see an explicit demo of that. The feature also ties into something that Roblox said a bit later on about leaning into esports. Roblox really want to increase their presence in competitive games. I think we'll see some incentives for that soon. So, as a player, you can probably expect more leaderboards, more tournaments, generally competitive games appearing on the platform in the future. Number 2 was AI generation, including 4D generation, as they called it. So, we saw some fairly crazy AI generation demos in the keynotes for real-time AI generation in games and experiences. We even got a demo from the Jailbreak developers where they generated a car based on some text input from the user using Roblox Cube, which is the AI generative system. But Roblox went a few steps further and they showed off an upcoming feature for speech to text, which uses the voice chat feature to listen to your speech and then turn that into text. They use that to prompt AI conversations with NPCs and then also used it for the input to a live asset generation using Cube. The assets that they generated from that were also referred to as 4D, the reason being that they went a step beyond just producing a static 3D model, but instead Cube determined which behaviors to add to that model, producing what Roblox called fully functional models. So you could generate weapons that could actually shoot, that sort of thing, which does sound crazy. And if that was completely unconstrained, that would be a nightmare. I think it's not quite as magical as they wanted it to appear. The AI is picking behaviors based on the prompt, but it's only picking from behaviors that the developer has predefined. So if I made a system where you're generating a car and I've said, I've defined a behavior that can shoot lasers and I've defined a behavior that can fire projectiles, you couldn't ask the AI to go and make a flying car because that isn't a behavior that I've defined, and the AI isn't actually writing brand new code and running it live. That would be quite a risk, to be honest. It's just adding pre existing code that the developers allowed it to. And what it's doing is choosing between, in that example, lasers or projectiles based on what you've said in the prompt. That's still a really, really cool feature. And obviously, if developers predefine a lot of different behaviors for it to pick from, that's quite cool. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see it in real use. I think the jailbreak example also highlighted a bit of an issue for game developers that might prohibit them from necessarily rolling this out completely freely for players to generate whatever they want. Normally in games you pay for the ability to use customization, and you normally pay for better items. The worst cars are going to be free, the best cars are going to be more expensive, that kind of thing. So there's a bit of a disadvantage to letting players just generate whatever they want, because they could just generate the nicest car and then not need to buy anything from you. So it'll be interesting to see whether developers put this behind a paywall. Maybe you have to buy a Game Pass before you can use the generative tools, or maybe they even make you pay for each generation. We'll just have to see what individual developers decide to do with this. So finally, on to my number one player-facing announcement, which was Roblox Moments. So this is like TikTok for Roblox, just for gameplay captures specifically to improve discoverability of different experiences. It's a little bit weird. It's an experience itself that you have to join like you would any game to be able to see what other people have made. But there is a shortcut via the More menu on the Roblox app. I don't know if there are plans to make it more prominent soon. You can scroll through trending videos like you would on TikTok Reels or Shorts. You have the option to react with an emoji or share, which basically posts a deep link that will open the moment's experience and load up that individual clip. There are APIs for all of this that developers can use to integrate the same features into their own experiences. So I think the intention is that you'll post and consume content in other places too. A few of the demos included showing highlight reels on billboards in world as well, so that it doesn't have to be 2D on the screen. Comments aren't a thing in the Roblox Moments app, but I'm told that's something that developers could implement on their own experiences when they roll this out. I think Roblox just didn't want to deal with the moderation of those comments in their own app. I'm not 100% clear how that would work, to be honest, but I imagine that's something we'll see in some games, definitely going forwards. And how you make a moment, it uses captures, which is something that's been out for a little bit. So in the Roblox menu, you can turn on captures, you can take pictures and videos in any experience on the platform. They don't have to enable anything, you can just take pictures and videos, but also developers have the ability to trigger automatic captures. So if there was a really critical part of a game, maybe an action replay, something like that, the developer can trigger that so that the capture is recording in the background, and then they can prompt you to save that. Roblox Moments uses those captures, so you can go into the Roblox Moments experience or another experience if the developer has the ability to do so. You give it permission to access all of your captures, and then you can bring those into the video editor. You can cut it, you can add music to it, kind of like you would on other short form platforms, and then you can add a description and post it. And then other people can react and do all those things. When you do post it as well, there's like a join button, at least on the Roblox Moments version of this, that will take you to the experience. So I think this is all about discovering new games on Roblox and keeping it all within platform. So that's it. Those are my top 5 player-facing announcements from the RDC keynotes. I'm interested to hear if you watched the RDC keynotes and you had other features, other announcements that I didn't include in my top 5. These were just the player-facing ones. I think I'm going to make another video for all the developer-facing announcements because there was a lot of interesting stuff to help developers make games. But these ones seemed like the most obvious ones that players will see in games that sort of change the platform for everybody, not just developers. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time.